So listen, very similar to what I mentioned last night. We all could have done a better job, starting with me, and I take full responsibility for it, being the head football coach. So there are things we can learn from this, in particular in the penalty area, things we can control. The big plays that were made, we can learn from those. And I've got a locker room that does that. I've got coaches that will do that. And obviously, every game, whether you win or lose, you can learn things from. Every game's different. This wasn't a lead up thing or anything else. This was a team that played better than we did yesterday and came out with, and coached better and came out with a win. Anyways, time's yours.
Let's go first to Bob Fesco. Go ahead, Bob.
If you do end up losing, Sammy Watkins for a minute there, a couple of weeks, whatever it may be, what's the number one thing you lose by losing a wide receiver like him?
Well, Sammy's a good player. We'll see how he does here. The guys are just coming in now, so we'll see. We'll see how it looks. But if Sammy can't play, we've done that throughout last year for a few games. So the year before that, so we just put the next man up and go. But I'm not going to take away from how good of a player he is. He's a terrific player. But we also have some other guys that can play too. So.
Go next to Herbie Top. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon. With Osamele going down with the tendon injuries in both knees, specific to the offensive line, how comfortable are you with Nick Allegretti maybe in the swing position role, and also with Martinez Rankins? How has his recovery gone so far on the PUP list?
Yeah, so Rank has done a good job of working to get back. He's not quite there yet, but he's working at it. And then Allegretti, he's been in kind of that swing position, and kind of covering the bases at both the guards and at center. So, he'd still be in that position. Remmers would be the one that steps in right now.
Let's go next to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Coach. I'm just wondering, was there anything that jumped out to you or surprised you when you went back and reviewed the tape of yesterday?
I wouldn't tell you surprised, because I felt like I had a pretty good beat on it, during the game. We needed to play better, and offensively, I need to put the guys in better position. And I'm sure Spags would probably tell you the same thing on his side, but it's a group effort, and that's how we roll. But I wouldn't tell you that I saw a lot different than what I saw yesterday afternoon when I talked to you guys.
Go next to Matt McMullen. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach. You mentioned the leaders you have in your locker room. Just what gives you confidence in your group that they can move forward after a game like this and not worry about it, move forward, and get a win next week?
Well, they'll digest it is what they'll do, and they'll do that aggressively. And I don't have guys that lie to themselves. They get in and they're real with themselves, and they're gonna they'll figure out their part. I have coaches that are the same way. They'll figure out their part, and then we'll get back at it. And that's how we roll. And that part's not going to change. And we go from there.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hi, Andy. Another Sammy Watkins question. As you know, your numbers are a lot better offensively when he's on the field as opposed to plays when he's not on the field. Are there some things that he does and maybe don't show up on the stat sheet that really help your numbers when he's on the field? And Brad, I'll have a quick follow-up as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he plays a little bit of the low post for you, and does a good job with that. He's strong, but again, we can work around that, and we've got other guys that can step in and and fill those type of roles.
And what are you seeing from McCole Hardman that tells you maybe he's ready for a bigger role if indeed he's needed to do that on Sunday or on Monday?
Yeah, McCole just needs to keep growing and keep working. He got a few reps yesterday, and so that's a step forward for him. But we'll see how he does and when we go forward here.
Let's go next to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Andy. Patrick mentioned yesterday just about needing to execute the offense the way it's called. And you mentioned the fact that you've got improvements everywhere to make, but how much of your offensive sort of stumbling in the second half was too reliant on him scrambling around to make plays and not just sticking on schedule?
Yeah, so I can help that too with different calls and putting people in better positions, and then yeah, no, I mean he's telling you what he sees there, and you got to stay disciplined with the assignments according to the coverages and do those things. So that ends up being important. Protection ends up being important. I think we all have a piece of it. And I know he expressed it well. So, but I think everybody has a little piece of the pie here. So,
Go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Coach, I know the scheduling is kind of unique. You guys find out you have a bonus day yesterday or sometime this weekend. I was curious how the schedule will go this week. Will you take advantage and give the guys an extra day to reset, or will you keep them in throughout the week?
I'll do what I normally do for Monday night games. Yeah. So they'll be back in Wednesday and go through their normal week. Yeah.
Go next to Sarin Petro. Go ahead, Sarin.
Coach, the Raiders got Trent Brown back at right tackle, and they got Ruggs back. I mean, those are two. I mean, maybe they're not household names yet, but the first wide receiver taken in the draft in Ruggs, and then Brown, they paid a lot of money for. How much of an impact did they make, and how much when you get a guy? I mean, you look at tape leading up, and I know there's tape on those guys as well, but to then see them all playing that way, how much did that maybe impact the game? The Raiders able to get those two big pieces back in.
Oh, Ruggs had a couple of big plays. The first big catch was to him. Fenton was right there in position and actually grabbed. The kid made one arm grab there. So heck of a catch, good throw. And then he made another one where he had a long ball for a touchdown. So I mean that obviously that made a difference for him having him in there. But that wasn't the reason for us not winning the football game. We can do better all the way around, whether it's assignment or putting our guys in the right position. And then Brown, I mean, he's a good football player. So having him back, they brought in two good football players back in there, healthy, and I thought that helped him, I guess. The best part of the answer there.
Got time for a couple more. We'll go Len Jennings and then Robert Remsen. Go ahead, Len.
Yeah, hi, Coach. Some of the guys after the game talked specifically about this loss and how it's going to be used as a motivating factor moving forward. And I'm just curious, how often in your career do you see a loss like this kind of spark a team, and what makes what is it about a loss like this that makes it a motivating factor moving forward?
Well, you got to go back. You have to be real with yourself, and then you go back and you fix the problems. As long as you're real with yourself and you work hard during the upcoming week, normally it gives you an opportunity to become better. And so I think we have a good football team, and we just need to get better. And off of that loss, there's some things we can learn from it, and it's important that we learn from both coaches and players. So we'll do that. We'll look in the mirror first, myself, and I know I have the guys that will do the same thing.
Go last to Robert Remsen. Go ahead, Robert.
Hey, Coach. So you've been a part of a lot of these teams that have started like this perfect quarter of the season going 4-0, and then you run into some adversity. The first loss of the season. What have you found is like typically the best way to deal with the first loss of the season, and what's the locker room typically like after the first loss, after being perfect for a little while?
Yeah, Robert. I mean, these guys, they were frustrated. They were upset. They worked hard. They never gave up through the 4 quarters. They kept battling. But it was, you try to be as real as you can. I try to give them a real observation at the end of the game. And penalties and big plays were what's real. However, they got the big plays. However, we committed the penalties. We need to fix those. And so that's what's real. I think if you can handle what's real as a coach and a player, then you should be able to go in there and fix it. And with some heartfelt work. And so that's what we will do this next week. We'll get ourselves better, put a good game plan together, and execute it. And we look forward to that challenge of playing Buffalo.